Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sydney. I'm from Cruelty Free Beauty Videos, and today's video is going to be about 3 curated custom spring palettes that I made with my single shadows. The majority of this video is filmed in kind of that overhead fashion, so I just wanted to pop in and give you guys a quick little intro, say hello, and let's hop into the actual creation of these palettes. So the way that I kind of like to structure these videos is I like to kind of grab a large assortment of shadows that kind of go along with the inspiration. If I have like a specific inspiration, I'll usually throw up a picture for you guys so you guys can see before I grab the shadows, but I like to grab a large group of shadows, kind of speed that through for you guys, and then we'll come back, kind of discuss each shadow as I kind of weed through them and really curate my palette. So the first palette that I'm inspired to create today is this palette right here. But this first palette was created by my friend Ida Mariel over on Instagram. I will link anyone's account that I mentioned down below. She created the most gorgeous, like, soft, ethereal, like, this just looks like a spring fairy palette to me. I am so excited to recreate this palette. So let's hop into the kind of initial shade selection and then we'll pare things down. Alright guys, so I've made 3 shadow camps. I think at this point my palette is going to be a little bit more vibrant than the inspiration palette, but I'm totally cool with that. A lot of the times I don't end up copying the inspiration palettes like shadow for shadow. I just kind of use them as a jumping off point. So I'm thinking either a 16 or 12 pan palette for this little curation. Obviously I have way too many shadows out right now for that, but that's why we're going to comb through them. I think the easiest way for me to do this is to do like a pinky row, a neutral row, and a green row, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I would really like to include this shade from Terra Moons. It's called Europa. It looks straight up white in the pan, but it has a really pretty soft, like pinky golden shift. I don't think you guys will be able to tell on camera, but I really love the shadow for the inner corner. But I really like having a nice little peachy shade. This is Big Spoon from ColourPop. It's from one of their palettes, which is why it's a little bit smaller. I also really want to include this gorgeous peachy shade. This is Sunshine from Terra Moons. I'm feeling like we're probably going to need to do, or maybe we could just do like a 15 pan palette. I don't know. I haven't decided. We're not there yet. I love this shadow. I'm not sure if we really need both of those in here. This is another Depotted ColourPop shadow. Love this tone. This is Trust from Sydney Grace. It's just like it's neutral, but it's like a little bit rosy, so I feel like it's going to pair really nicely with these other tones. I also am kind of contemplating throwing in this shadow right here. I think this is Vanguard from Sydney Grace. It's a gorgeous like greeny neutral. I don't know if you guys can tell. I hope things look okay on camera. Alright, I zoomed you guys in just a little bit because I felt like things were kind of far away, but I feel like this shade could almost be classified as a green. It's like a greeny neutral. And I also kind of want a deeper contrast shade. This is Plummet from Sydney Grace, so I'm going to tentatively throw that on the end right here. I think I'm happy with that for right now. I also really want to throw in this shadow, and there were some cool tones in the palette, so I feel like this shadow should also make its way into this palette. But we'll play with it a little bit as we go. So next up for the green row, I really want to throw in a softer green like this, but I'm just not really sure if it's going to really serve a purpose in the palette or just going to be like, I don't know, a useless shade. So I'm kind of thinking of not including that one. I really want to include Green Apple. I think that's a really fun green shadow. And then definitely, I think I'm going to go with this shadow. This is Orion from Divina. It's one of their new, I think these are the Star Tracer shadows. I had to wait forever for this one to come in, but I think that would be a really fun addition. And Hot Spice Cider is a gorgeous, like, duochrome green shadow from Terra Moons. I really love it. I'm going to pop that in right there. And now we need some depth. I'm contemplating whether I want to go with this shade right here. I think this is Eden from Kaleido Cosmetics. It's a gorgeous like deep forest green, but it's like it still has a lot of vibrance to it. Whereas this shadow, which is Trailhead from Sydney Grace, it's like a deep blackened green, but like there's no real green to it, you know? So like that makes it almost a neutral, but also like I want the green. So I think I'm gonna go in with Eden. I kind of want to throw in one of these two murky green shadows. This one's Wildlife from Sydney Grace, and this is Vanguard. I think I want to go in with Wildlife. We'll switch these two. We'll see. Okay, we're gonna start with this for that row, and then let's move on to the pinkier shadows right here. So, oh my goodness, my palette is so crooked in the viewfinder. I'm sorry if that's irritating you guys. So I kind of want to throw in this shade right here. I believe this is Palm Reader from Terra Moons. It's a gorgeous pastel red shadow. Really fun. Okay, so I really want to throw in a deeper pink. We have Lethal Cosmetics Terminus and ColourPop Manifest It. I always throw in Lethal Cosmetics Terminus, so I think I'm going to throw in a ColourPop Manifest It just for a fun, brighter pop. I feel like I need a shade to like ease this transition, or the transition into this darker pink. So I kind of want to throw in Wishlist from ColourPop, this really gorgeous like matte corally red. Now we need some shimmer, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Ida's palette was so much like brighter, and I feel like mine's looking a little bit murkier, which is like fine. They don't have to be the same. But I'm feeling like we need a shimmery shadow, and I feel like all the ones that I grabbed are pretty deep. Yeah, I feel like all of these are looking a little bit deep for kind of what I had in mind. You know what? What if we throw in this shadow? This is Roseline from Kaleido Cosmetics. It's kind of bronzy, but it has like a pink shift to it. I think that would be really pretty. And I think I'm going to throw in this little cool tone shadow right here. This is ColourPop Teacup. It's from their All I See Is Magic palette. I depotted it years and years ago. So I think that's our first palette. I'm going to scooch this one aside so we can move on to our next palette. Oh, and I'm definitely just getting rid of this shadow. Alright you guys, the next palette that I want to create is this one right here. This is one that I found on Lethal Cosmetics Instagram page. If you guys love single shadows, I would highly recommend checking out their Instagram page. They post not only so many gorgeous swatches of their own shadows, but just like so many inspirational palettes that I just love their page. But here's what I'm going for. I'm going to grab some shadows. I'm pretty content with keeping this as a 9-pan palette unless I find a couple of other random shadows that I'm like, oh, I must have those in there. But let's go into the selection process. Alright, so obviously I picked more than 9 shadows. I got a little excited, a little carried away. I also just wanted to tell you guys that I'm filming with completely natural light today, so if there are fluctuations in the light, please just bear with me. I don't have any control over the clouds, unfortunately. So let's start by kind of grouping these shadows by color. The blues, purpley-ish shadows, neutral-ish / cool toned, pinky. I really want to keep in a light matte neutral / maybe a light purpley-ish neutral, a deep blue, and we need like a light inner corner shadow, and I'm kind of thinking we go for purple instead of like a silver or a boring shadow like that. So I feel like I need to make some decisions between these shadows right here, but we'll just put them both down for now. That palette had a really gorgeous like deep shimmery statement blue, and for that shadow I grabbed Below Zero from Sydney Grace. It's a really pretty shadow. Love the shadow in theory and context. I don't always use it so much because I don't know, I just have weird things about deep shimmery blues. I love how they look like swatched, but like on my eyes I don't always jive with them. It also had a really gorgeous matte pink in it. This is once again Lethal Cosmetics Terminus. Love this shadow to death. I thought maybe it might be fun to throw in Sydney Grace The Greatest Gift as well. This is a really gorgeous like purpley greeny shadow. I thought that might add a fun twist to some of the looks that I could create with this palette. It also had some really gorgeous purples in it. I kind of took some liberties and I grabbed quite a few different like tones of purple, which this is where I'm thinking our palette might get a little bigger than it originally was intended to be. This is Cosmetics Elysian. This is Sydney Grace. I think this is Face Painter. This is from Terra Moons. It's the shade Star Crazy. And this is, I think it's Interstellar from Terra Moons, yeah. So I'm kind of thinking if we're trying to go in the springy direction, we should probably include this shadow from Cosmetics. And I really like this one as well. I feel like we've probably got enough smoky options in the palette. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. So if I want to keep it a 9-pan palette, then I technically have only one more spot to fill, and I really want to throw in a fun, brighter pop of blue. This is Lineage from Kaleido Cosmetics. It's one of their, I think it's a glitter multi-chrome. And here's our little itty bitty baby palette. So at this point, I don't hate this palette. Oh, that's like half in a shadow. I'm sorry, you guys. Let me scooch it over so it's all in the sunlight. All right, there we go. I hope that's better. So at this point, I kind of am thinking that I want to expand this into a 12-pan palette. So I can have both of these matte shadows in here because I just think these will play really, really nicely together and with the tones in this palette. I don't really feel the need to have both of these blues in here, and I'm kind of leaning towards keeping in Menagerie Blue Tang over Sydney Grace hashtag It's Boy. It's just a little brighter, a little bit more fun. So that means we have 2 remaining spots to fill in this palette. And kind of thinking I want to throw in, do I really want to throw in another blue shadow? I mean, like, this adds a lot of vibrancy and it would be really fun, but I'm not 100% sure I want to take the palette in quite such a blue direction. But it is another matte, and mattes add versatility. So I think I am going to throw this one in here. This shadow is from Terra Moons. It's the shade Azure Skies. I believe it's one of their neon matte shadows. Really, really gorgeous. And then we just have one little spot left. And I really want to throw in this shadow from Terra Moons. I think it's called Terrasphere. This is one of their Cosmic Chameleons. It's a gorgeous shadow, you guys. I'm kind of thinking that's where I want to leave this palette. Alright guys, I've scooched over the other palette, and now I think the next palette I want to create is this palette that Basket Beauty Case on Instagram created last year. This kind of gives me like springy, creepy, cute vibes. If you guys have that palette from Shroud Cosmetics, let me know if it gives you like Shroud Cosmetics vibe as well. So let's start picking out some shadows. I have a bad feeling that I may have to like rearrange some of my other palettes to make this palette work. So let's hop into it. Alright, so here are the shadows that we're working with. Let's start to create this little palette. So, this palette has a lot of really gorgeous kind of like almost pastel-y shades in it. I think I went a little bit more saturated with the tones that I chose. Instead of a black or a deep brown or whatever that shadow was, I decided to go with Trailhead from Sydney Grace, which is that gorgeous, really black and green matte shadow that we talked about earlier. I think it's just a fun little twist. It also has a silvery-ish shadow in it. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to go like true silver, so I grabbed ColourPop Beam Me Up, and then I also grabbed Divina Runts, which is more of a blue with like a golden shift, and I thought that was a little bit more fun. So I'm going to lay that out there as an option. It has a gorgeous, gorgeous matte purple shadow, so I grabbed 2. One is a little bit warmer, and that is Divina Kaya, and then I have Terra Moon's Lunar Haze. I was going to say Later Hater. It was like, that is not right. That is not right at all. And of course, the sun has decided to go behind the clouds for a second. Please just bear with me. It'll be back in a couple of seconds. So let's just pop those babies in the middle right there. We definitely don't need both. I grabbed 2 lightish champagne-y. This shade really isn't champagne-y at all, but I grabbed 2 lighter shadows. This one's from, I think, a Winky Lux palette that I depotted. This one's from Cleona. It's called Mist. I think I'm going to go with this one just because I haven't used it in so long. I think it would be so pretty with these shadows. So that one's out. This palette also features some really, really gorgeous greens. It has a gorgeous metallic green, and for that one, I knew I had to use Sydney Grace Tempest. It's perfect. I love it. And it also featured a matte green. So I kind of pulled out 2 greens. These are 2 totally different greens. This one's from Terra Moons, It's the shade Just a Phase, and this is Sydney Grace Green Apple. Obviously, Just a Phase is a lot brighter and more like neon toned, and Green Apple is, as this shade name would suggest, a green apple shade. I kind of want to throw in Just a Phase because I feel like it adds a little bit of extra something to a palette, but I feel like Green Apple would tone it down a little bit. I think I'm going to go with Just a Phase. Enough of Green Apple. And then this palette also had a really nice cool toned neutral shadow. I don't have a lot of cool toned neutral shadows, so I just grabbed the shade Pismo from Sydney Grace. It's a little bit more on the like brown neutral side than like silvery gray neutrals, but we're just gonna roll with it. I think, did the palette have a shimmery purple? Is that why I grabbed that one? It did. We kind of fulfilled that with Mist, but I also pulled out the shade right here. This is from Sydney Grace. I can't remember what this is called. It's called Deliver. It's a gorgeous vibrant purple, and I think that would be really pretty. And then this palette also features a like pastel reddish tone. I have a pastel red, but we already used it in another palette, so I'm kind of thinking maybe we could just go with this shadow right here. This is Woke from ColourPop, but I don't really love how that's like playing with these other colors. It's just not really doing it for me. I don't know. We'll leave it in there for right now. I think I've decided to go with the Divina shadow over the ColourPop shadow. And let's go with, I kind of like, which purple do I like better? I kind of like that purple better. So let's go with that one. And I think that's where I want to leave this palette. I don't know. I just don't feel great about this peachy shade right here. I don't know what to do with it. In the original palette, the peach shade is actually placed, if we're going to go with like correct placement, the peach shadow is over here. I mean, maybe I like that just a little bit better, but like not leaps and bounds. I think I'm going to leave it there, and then if when I start to use the palette I don't love it, I'll switch it out and change it. But I think that's going to conclude this portion of the video. So let's hop into the rest of it. Alright, so now that you guys have kind of seen how I put the palettes together, after filming those clips, I realized that like I did swatches, but I didn't actually tell you guys like what the final shadows were in each palette. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So let's kick it off with this big baby right here. This is what I've dubbed the Fairy Garden palette. This is honestly the only one that I've named so far. So let's see if I pull some other names out of my butt as we go through this video. But I love this palette so much. It's actually what I use to create this look on my eyes right here. Over the next couple days on my Instagram, I will be posting looks with all of these palettes, along with probably some reels like on the palettes themselves if you guys want something that's a little bit more savable, maybe a little bit more easy to access. Definitely head over there and make sure you're following me so you don't miss out on any of that. But I used this palette to create this look right here today, and I think it's really fun. It's been quite a while since I've assembled so many single palettes, or like a seasonal based single palette, so I'm having a lot of fun kind of digging into these color stories. But anyways, that's enough blabbering on. I know this is going to be a long video, so let's pop into that swatch clip so I can tell you guys what shadows are in here. So in the first row we have Terra Moon's Europa, ColourPop Big Spoon, Terra Moon's Sunshine, Sydney Grace Trust, and Sydney Grace Plummet. In the second row, we have Luxie Beauty Green Apple, Divina Cosmetics Orion, Terra Moon's Hot Spice Cider, Sydney Grace Wildlife, and Lethal Cosmetics Eden. In the final row, we have Terra Moon's Palm Reader, ColourPop Manifest It, ColourPop Wishlist, Cleona Cosmetics Roseline, and a ColourPop Teacup. So that is the final composition of this palette. I am so excited to dip back into it. I feel like I need to pump up the pink tones in my next look because I feel like I went primarily green in this look, so I'm thinking next time we'll pump up the pink and maybe pop a little green on the lower lash line or do like some green liner. I think that could be really fun too. But let's hop into the next palette. Alright you guys, here's the next palette. I feel like the last palette was very like traditionally spring. This kind of reminds me of like spring like on the coast, you know? I feel like there's a lot of like blue watery tones and some soft pinks and purples that really remind me like sunsetty tones, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like in the spring they're pretty sunsets. I don't know, I'm really just talking out my behind right now. But let's hop into the swatches so I can break down the shades for you guys. So in the first row we have Sydney Grace The Greatest Gift, Sydney Grace Laughter, Lethal Cosmetics Terminus, and Sydney Grace Haven. In the second row, we have Terra Moon's X-Ray, Cleona Cosmetics Lineage, M Cosmetics Urban Fairy, and Terra Moon's Azure Skies. In the third row, we have Sydney Grace Below Zero, Wannabe Cosmetics Blue Tang, Terra Moon's Star Crazy, and Terra Moon's Terrasphere. This is the only palette that I haven't actually created a look with yet, but I am very, very excited to. This bright blue right here is like screaming my name, so is Lineage and The Greatest Gift, and like just all of it's really screaming my name. I cannot wait to dive into this palette. And on to our final palette, the only palette that I was able to keep in a little 9 pan, I think. I don't think the first one started out as a 9 pan, but I think the second one started out as a 9 pan, and I was like, no, we gotta add some more colors. This is a really funky color story. I know I said that when I was creating it, it kind of reminded me of like a springy, like not even more springy, but like an alternate spring version of the Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette. That's really what I'm getting from this palette. And I did already create a look with this one. I was mostly happy with the look. I'm happy enough with it to post it on Instagram, but I'm definitely going to be creating more looks with this palette, and I'm really excited to play with the color story. So let's start breaking down the shades. In the top row, we have Kaleido Cosmetics Mist, then we have ColourPop Woke, and Sydney Grace Pismo. In the second row, we have Sydney Grace Deliverer, Terra Moon's Lunar Haze, Davina Cosmetics Runts. And then in the third row, we have Sydney Grace Tempest, Terra Moon's Just a Phase, and Sydney Grace Trailhead. And that completes this palette and completes this video, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I love making these videos so much. I've said a lot lately that I've just been kind of in this funk where I'm just really not feeling inspired by makeup. It's not so much that I'm feeling uninspired by makeup, I don't feel inspired to film, but this video really made me happy and got my creative juices flowing. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button if you did enjoy it. I will link some other single shadow videos down below that I've done recently. I'm in the process of swatching all of my singles kind of by like color category, so if you guys like super satisfying swatch videos, I would definitely recommend subscribing so you don't miss out on any more of those. But I think that's it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!